"Are you crazy?" And I said, "No, not the way you mean." And I thought, does this guy know anything about acting? And he said, "Well, can you do it?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure, it'd be easy, I can do it." And he said, "All right, you're hired." And I thought, I had no clue how I was going to do it. I just lied to him because I figured, you know the thing. Yeah, it's like, can you speak French? Mais oui. And then you go out and learn French, so it's the same sort of thing. So that's how I did it.
My brother-in-law wrote it. Honestly, my brother-in-law wrote it. Kim Henkel was married to my sister, but I was an educated and experienced actor at the time. It wasn't like I was pumping Ethel down at the... Ethel was a good pump, by the way, down at the gas station. Wow, I haven't heard that one in a while. But yeah, I was at the Goodman Theater of Chicago doing a children's play called The Taradiddle Tales, dressed in tights and singing folk songs and telling folk tales from around the world. And then Kim called and asked if I was crazy. He said, "Hey man, you crazy?" I said, "Sure, yeah, what do you need?" And he told me, so I quit the play and came to Texas. So the first, the woman who produced the play, she was this old Russian woman with one eye that went out this way. They always had a bit of yellow custard right out of her. And she was really pissed off so I quit. She said that Roddy McDowell would never have done Planet of the Apes if he had not been an established actor. Honestly, she told me that. So I quit and I came down. So the first half of the summer I was dancing around in party-colored tights, entertaining children. The second half of the summer I was hitting a chick over the head with a sledgehammer. So it was surrealistic to say the least. That's about the third time I've used that term. I'm sorry, but it's just so groovy, isn't it? And I got paid for both. There was the summer I became a professional actor. I got paid for both gigs. Although Chainsaw I didn't get paid for it until the following year. But anyway, that's it.
I had gone to film school at the University of Texas, and they told us at the time, you have to imagine when I started in film school in '68, that there was only 3 television networks, and the rest of the United States, I think New York had 2 independent channels, and Chicago had 1, and there were half a dozen studios. So it's not like today, where there's a demand for product. There's not that much of a demand. And they told us you can't get into film business. So if you're passionate about the cinema, you'll go on, you get a master's degree, and you'll teach, and if you're lucky, you'll get to make films on the weekends, or you get grants in the summers. So I was passionate about the cinema, so I followed that routine. In June of '73, finished my work on my master's degree, and at a party with my buddies who had finished, I said, "Guys, I will shoot a feature film," but I should tell you, I was basically the staff cinematographer for the film school. Film schools, especially in the graduate level, are all about directing and writing, but they have to have one cinematographer in order else the pictures come out black. So they tolerated me in film school, and I tolerated being there. And anyhow, I told my buddies, I said, "Guys, I think I'm pretty good at this. I will shoot a feature film by the time I'm 35. I'll be the youngest guy to ever shoot a feature film." Well, 2 weeks later, my phone rings, and it's Toby. And Toby goes, "Dale, man, I know some of your work, and I reckon you're the best cinematographer in the state of Texas. I want you to shoot my film." I'm like, "Okay. I better play this cool." I think, "All right, well, send me over the screenplay. I'll read it." Well, I read the screen. First of all, I hang up the phone, and my friends were there at the time, and I'm like, there's sparks coming off of me, and they go like, "What's going on?" I go, "I'm 12 years ahead of schedule, guys." I've been offered a film. And then Toby sends me the screenplay, right? And I read it, and it's all there on paper. It's strong. I mean, the hair is standing up on the back of my neck. The screenplay is super strong. I go, "Shit, I want to shoot this bad." They go, "But they're crazy. Why did they hire me? I'm a kid. What the fuck do I know?" Right? They must be nuts. So the next phone call, I call back, "Yeah, I kind of like it, Toby. I'd like to shoot it for you. When do we start?" And I'm thinking, I better get it going right away, right? He goes, "Well, Daniel, we're making this film for $80,000. Can you believe that, folks? That was our original budget. Making it for $80,000. We got $70,000 now. We're going to, as soon as we get the last $10,000, I hang up the phone. I go, "I better fucking find that $10,000 before they come to their senses." So I did. I went out and I found the $10,000, and then I was on the picture.
Yeah.
I was in 69, 70, I left high school. Coming out of there, I went to the Dallas Theater Center, worked with their scholarship program through Trinity University, and after about a year of that, I decided to move to Austin for whatever reason. If I had stayed with that program, I would have never been in this film. But I got to UT, they wouldn't accept any of my 40 hard-earned credit hours for that entire year. And so I said, well, screw it, and I went to St. Edward's University. But at the same time, I was working where Egos is right now, you know, the bar on Riverside and Congress. It was at that time called Mrs. Robinson's 2. And I was waiting tables, and a guy named Wild Bill would always come in and see me, and he wanted to be an actor, and he knew I was an actress, and so he said, you know, they're casting this film, you know, and I said, oh, really, what is it? And he said, I don't know, it has chainsaws and stuff like that in it, you know. And I've considered myself sort of like Greta Garbo, you know, and I thought, oh, I don't know, you know, because I was doing serious plays with people from Hollywood that St. Edward's brought in. And anyway, I didn't think any more about it. And then the next week, I got a call from Kim Hinkle, and he said that they wanted me to come down and audition for this. And so I said, okay, and I went, but I was hesitant because at that time, horror had the kind of, you know, it was sort of close to porn, you know, as far as serious actors were thinking. And you didn't do non-union, and all these rules were in place. And I was a young girl with no agent, and you know. So anyway, they'd seen my picture in the paper with Frank Sutton, who was Gomer Pyle's sergeant. Might be before your time, but you know, Pyle, get over here. Anyway, so I'm playing the ingenue in the play, and they asked me to come down. It was the worst picture I've ever taken. It was in the newspaper. My eyes are closed, and the thing. So I go and I audition, and I leave thinking to myself, my God, what is this thing about, you know? I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But I got back, and my friend dropped by the bar again, and he said, oh, Terry, just do it, you know? So I thought, well, yeah, what the hell, you know? So I called Kim Hinkle, and I said, you know, Kim, I think I really would like to be in this film. If you think, you know, could I come and read for you again, perhaps? Because I thought maybe I hadn't portrayed myself as caring about it, you know, and all that. Maybe I could. He said, sure. He said, put on a pair of short shorts and come over to the, you know, they were doing it in some apartment. I don't remember where it was. So I'm living at 909 West 22nd. Okay. So I'm living at 909 West 22nd Street, a little apartment upstairs, just off campus, the UT. And I put on my little white short shorts with flowers running down the side and a little crinkled pink peach top, clingy, you know. And I got on my bicycle and I rode over. And I went in and I read the best I could. And all I know is they cast me after that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. My story is, as far as how I got into it, was, as Wayne Bell mentioned, he'd been in Toby's first movie, which was a movie called Eggshells, and I happened to be in that. And that was, I guess, what you call done cinema verite, where they just come out and he would just, you know, you'd have a scene and you just shoot it. There was no dialogue, or at least there was no dialogue, you know, for me. And there was about a young, I guess, called a hippie couple, David and Amy, and they had done some volunteer work. I was working for Austin Travis County MHMR at the time. And so they came to my apartment and shot a scene there. And it went well, and I guess I was funny in that scene, although they did start a small fire while they were shooting, but that's inconsequential. You know, a couple of fire trucks, no big deal. But after that scene, there was a scene on campus that I was in, and then there was another scene at the house that Kim is in, that we shot with Kim. And I guess I was funny, and they wanted that kind of a, I guess, wise guy character for Chainsaw, which is the only way I can rationalize at that time how I got into it. But I didn't have to come and read for it. They came with the script and said, Alan, we want you to read the script and tell us what you think, and we want you to do it. So I was one of the fortunate ones. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
So I had already had a kind of lengthy sort of entertainment career in Austin from the early 60s, and came as a student. And at that time, there was a college humor magazine called the Texas Ranger, and we used to hand them out on the corner or try to get kids to buy them on the corner, right? At one point, one of the years, Bob Burns was the editor of the magazine. And Burns and I became acquainted, we're friends. Fast forward, through a musical career in Austin, the nascent kind of scene, moved to San Francisco in 67 or late 68 rather, played out there for a few years, decided, hey, rock and roll is rock and roll, but driving a truck is a whole other animal, right? So I decided I wanted to buy a truck. That's how I got the part. 2 parts. Bob Burns was a friend of mine. 3 parts, actually. Bob Burns was a friend. The script apparently called for a truck, and I had one. So I was there for one bloody, sore-footed, sweating, tiring day after it was all done, basically, except for the last bit of shooting. With Marilyn in the pickup truck. There was some pickup stuff there. And wow, that was an interesting ride.
Okay, I think, there's so many of you here. I'm sure some of you must have some good questions. So I'm just going to open it up to the audience for Q&A now. So you got a question, stick your hand up. Anyone? Clearly no, you all suck. God bless you.
I'm probably the least qualified. What Burns did for the movie, in my opinion, is hire me. That was a very smart thing. There had to be a hero in such a terrifying thing, right? But I'll pass this down the line because I know a lot of the cast and crew know. But Bob was a very talented guy. Very, very talented guy. And the look and the feel of the movie, in my opinion, at least, obviously, the set decoration was all Bob.
If I'm not mistaken, I would imagine that Bob did the sledgehammer, which was made out of foam, and that's what I get killed with in the movie, and they had to do that several times because just the scream and whatnot, getting it all together. But that sledgehammer really did some damage because we're talking 40 years later and I'm still getting headaches. So, did an excellent job.
Well, I was in the bone room, and all I can tell you is it was very authentic. And those feathers, I really did choke on them. He had piles of them everywhere. It was wonderful. But he did not find a freezer that froze anything. And I don't know if Bob was in charge of that, but I can tell you that was very funny shooting that scene, and I'll tell you about it later. Daniel knows a lot more about Bob than I do.
Bob Burns was a true genius. A lot of what you see in the film comes from out of his head. Very passionate about his work, and would fight to get what he wanted. Quite a bit. He'd fight hard for what he wanted, and later went on. He had a great career. Unfortunately, it was taken away too early in life. But went to work for Carpenter and Dante and a lot of the great horror film directors in Hollywood. Shortly after Chainsaw, he was off and running. He was a great man and dearly missed.
Robert Burns was kind of an evil genius kind of character, is how I seen. Actually, the axis of evil of the film was pretty much Daniel, Robert Burns, Toby Hooper, and Kim Hinkle. And you know, together they created the mood and the look of the film. They made the film, and just not always easy to get 4 people to agree on something. 4 very creative, kind of finicky assholes really at times. So, no, seriously, Daniel. You know, yeah, they were all very passionate about what they did. And a lot of times it would just clear the set. It was like, okay, I'm out of here. And just like go walk outside and light one up or something. And just hang out for a half an hour until you could get we can get started again. But he's just a guy who drove around the country on his half day off a week to look for roadkill and shit to make stuff out of it. Absolutely amazing, the stuff that he did. He did that kind of shit for fun, you know. And he and Mary, honestly, together that's about all I have to say. But he was something else. A guy with a drive, a passion, a big brain pan, and a huge creative itch that it had to be scratched all the time. Neat guy.
Bob had a strange sense of morality. You know, when I knew of him in high school, but when I first got together with him for that interview, his office was full of very strange things, and he was telling me that the big problem he was having was he was trying to decide whether to get plastic bones, skeletal bones, from America or real human skeletons from India. And the reason it was a dilemma for him was that it was cheaper to get the human stuff from India. And I always gave him credit for having chosen the plastic bones. Well, it turned out that was not true. He bragged about the fact there were 2 complete human skeletons on the set. But that aside, he had this other side to him, which was, you know, in the movie in the living room, there's a bird cage with a chicken in it. Now, Kim Henkel told me this story. He said, Bob was adamant, you don't hurt that chicken. Anything happens to the chicken, I'm taking everything off here. The set is going to disappear, and I'm taking it home. So the chicken does not get hurt. And Kim said, there was a chicken slaughterhouse down on Red River, on the Colorado, but right at Red River, and he said, every couple of days the chicken died. So he would get up at 5 in the morning, that is Kim, and drive down and buy another chicken and bring it back and put it in the cage before birds got on the set.
So I go over to Burns' house and I go, what are you working on? I bought this old pinball machine. I said, what do you want to do with an old pinball machine? I'm making a new backboard for it. I said, that looks like Linda Lovelace here. Yeah, it is. And he had redone where the balls go. And I said, nobody's gonna buy that. And he said, I just sold it. I said, who'd you sell that to? And he was Hugh Hefner.
That pinball machine ended up in Playboy magazine.
The ball, oh, gee, thanks. I get to follow that. Linda Lovelace and balls. Bob Burns, again, genius of a guy. But I remember Bob, the first day Terry and I went in the house. We got out there, and behind the curtained doors was the room with all the bones and the chicken feathers and everything. And like very naive young actors, we went, oh wow, what's this? And went into the room and started touching and feeling and working everything. And, oh wow, look at this, and the chicken in the cage and everything. Bob came in and had a fit. It was his work of art, and it really was. But he got so upset with us for being in the room and touching everything. And so that was my first experience with Bob. My last experience was calling him up and go, do you still have the hammer from Texas Chainsaw? And he goes, sure, why don't I send it to you? And I said, thanks, Bob.
Real quick, one more Bob Burns story, and I know we've got more questions. I worked with Bob on other films after Chainsaw, and he was a friend, so he's missed. He would be a good addition here tonight, were he still around. Quick Chainsaw Bob story. The one shot opens up on a little chicken head display in a famous dinner scene, the 26-hour shoot that we did for the dinner scene that I'm sure you all know. What it is just a little 2-inch by 6-inch piece of wood with a chicken head mounted on it and the eyes sewn shut. But it's a little table, and the legs of the table are 4 chicken legs. And when you would pick it, it's sitting on the chicken legs, you pick it up and the legs would go limp. You put it back down, sit back, go back down. So that opens, I think, after Marilyn passes out, I believe that's the first shot is that. But that was very Burnsian. So Whitaker, what would you like to do next? How about another question? Right, go ahead. Question is, there's been a follow-on series of Chainsaw movies after the original. What's our thoughts about those? And I'm uninterested in them. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, others will get an answer at this. Let me say this, that there have been plenty of mistakes with the Chainsaw legacy, and one of them is that they allowed another movie to come out with the exact same title. Now think about that. Databases, and years from now, somebody looks up the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're going to see 2 of them. Which one is it? The way to know is the proper name for our film is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 2 words. All the others, it's chainsaw, all right? So when your children want to know about it, tell them, look for the one with the 2 words. But anyway, that's, I think they should have left well enough alone. Let me hand this down to others who have something else to say.
Pale comparisons. Enough said.
But you got to understand why they're making them. Anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If it makes $1 in LA, you're going to see 9 more. But the problem is, we're dealing with people nowadays that this is what we're dealing with. The Beatles. Oh yeah, Paul's first band.
Well, I'm not a fan of the sequels. I'm not a fan of sequels at all. I think that they're really all about the money. That's really, I think, what these people are interested in. They don't. It's like, why don't they just come up with their own idea? Oh, there's the problem.
Wayne kind of answered what I was going to say, but in a business where, as an actor, as a filmmaker, anybody in the film business, or in trying to make a living in the arts, in a business where your main job is looking for a job every fucking day, if somebody's got the money to do something, I don't care. I'm pissed off and I've done more of the Chainsaw films than anybody in this franchise. I've done 3 of them. So I've done as many or more than anyone. And I'm pissed off about the ones they didn't ask me to do, I would have, even if they suck, even if the script sucked donkey dick, I'd jump at the chance for 15 days of work on a film. It's just, So I can't in all honesty say that the whole thing sucks. Because, I put a bunch of people to work. And this is a hard business to make a living in. Very hard. Like I said, your main job is to look for work all the time. So, and I've not seen all of them. I was in the fourth one, and I'd never even seen it. I just never got around to it. Yeah. I came to Texas, I did my job, got paid, and went home. But, so to me, is there a need to do it again? I don't know. But if I put people to work in this business, then it can't be all bad,
I shot the remake that y'all hate so much. That's okay, I'm proud of it. There's people, when I ask people that hire me on feature films now, I say, what do you want it to look like? They go watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. Make it look like that. No, I'll tell you a quick story. When I started shooting the picture, by the way, I shot the only two that made any money. So, when they approached me to do the remake, they said in the first meeting, it's going to be gritty and grainy like the original, right? And I go, this is Michael Bay now. Michael Bay set up a company to remake horror films, right? Whether that has much integrity or not, that's a whole other conversation. But anyhow, I've shot several of those for him too. Anyhow, as John says, right? We're sitting here, we're freelancers, right? And we have a passion to work, right? But we can't go out and do it by ourselves, right? We need our benefactors, just like the artists in Renaissance needed. They needed your sponsors, right? It's expensive to shoot a film. You can't just bankroll it yourself, right? So you need opportunities to work. So we take them when they come. Anyhow, they said to me it's going to be gritty and grainy like the original, right? I said, so we're going to shoot 16 millimeter? They go, are you fucking crazy? We're going to tell Michael Bay that he's shooting a 16 millimeter film? Are you nuts? And I go, well, that's how you get gritty and grainy, guys. I don't know how to fuck up perfectly good looking 35 millimeter film. And so I said, look, guys, first of all, when you first talked to me about this project, I thought you were updating this film. We're shooting it in 2002. I thought you'd put an African American in the van, an Asian in the van, and get a whole new soundtrack, right? And rock this thing for the money that you could get out of it, right? But you're making it in 73 again. I go, so we're not shooting it the same because we already did that. There's nothing wrong with the 73 version of this film. I'm not sure why you're making it again, but if you're making it again, there's a new demographic for this audience. The audience in 74 had one visual aesthetic. The audience in 2003, this is the MTV generation. We're making the MTV version of this film. That's what it is.
When I went to see the film that Daniel filmed, I said, out of the whole film, I said, my God, this thing is beautifully shot, because I was lucky enough to be in the first one, and I feel that they really have never replicated what we had, because the one thing that I think is so wonderful about it is it's not explicit violence. You don't see the chainsaw hit something, the flesh. You don't see naked. You know, it's all so subliminal, and it's all in your mind. And I really believe that that's the beauty of that film. But I will say that you all need to Google Daniel Pearl, and you need to see his incredible commercials and videos, because that's what, if there was any film that, you know, did something great, his film work is wonderful, his cinematography. And I am his agent. But anyway, I'm just a real fan, and I'm very fortunate because when I was 21 years old, he shot my first portfolio. So I wish I had the originals on some of those. Well, send them to me. Anyway, that's what I think.
I guess I also agree. I think it's just hard to do remakes or do sequels. It's just a tough gig. And I think that I saw this on TV. They were reviewing or talking about Chainsaw or somewhere, and they said the thing about this movie is that these four young people in the van or whatnot, they're all believable. You know, it's like you could identify, you know, with them. You know, they were stupid, you know, but they were believable. And when you realize, or that there's one, I don't even know the name of it, that has Matthew McConaughey in it and Renee Zellweger. They're huge today, and yet nobody even mentions. I think they were trying to buy the film so they could not show it, you know?